we are in the terminal stage of capitalism. The moderate neoliberal version of capitalism is no longer sustainable. That was demonstrated by the collapse of the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the failure of the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. I think that those two events are, in a way, I'm not going to cry tears for the neoliberals, but they are preferable to the next stage of capitalism which we have arrived at, which is kleptocracy. The Trump administration is basically kleptocrats. They came to steal. They came to transfer the last little bit of wealth, to destroy the final liberal institutions that were holding back the collapse of the American class system into a proper aristocracy. You know, they're coming to eliminate the estate tax and mass privatization. All this stuff is about pushing money up and stopping, you know, there isn't much redistribution left in the United States of America from rich to poor, but the kleptocrats in the Trump administration have come for, grandma's last penny. They really are done with democracy, but the neoliberals were done with democracy too. You know, I voted for Hillary Clinton. I always put that forward so that people don't sort of think that I'm like a begrudged Bernie bro. I had no problem voting for Hillary Clinton in the face of who she was running against. But Trump wasn't the only person that was done with democracy in this election, because during the primary process, the Democrats, the neoliberal faction of the Democrats, in order to preserve capitalism, engaged in electioneering tactics that were as toxic and to the democratic process as the Trump administration and their Russian electioneering. So, what's left? What's the prognosis? How many months does the patient have before capitalism kills them? Here's the problem, and here is what is. We're going to start with the scary stuff so that we can follow up with things that bode for a better world after capitalism, because after capitalism is coming. Regardless, we experienced after capitalism around the Second World War in the United States, where we, just like a lot of other Western countries, were faced with what to do after capitalism. A lot of countries went communist. The ones that didn't go communist went fascist. And the United States of America decided to go basically social democrat, basically, the establishment of a welfare state, just enough socialism to keep capitalism in check so that people could live under it. I don't think that's coming this time. Trump has failed in his campaign to destroy existing institutional power within the government. His Muslim ban has been a failure. His attempts to replace the Affordable Care Act with a mass execution program for sick people was a failure. But that does, look, he's got 3 years. And he's not a bright boy, but there are 2 ways to dismantle a system. One is proactive, right, which Trump wants. Trump wants to be the decider. Trump wants to be, the boss. So he is slowly learning in his first year that he is going to have a lot of resistance from the existing order if he tries to take proactive action to disassemble the state. The people around him are going to eventually realize, especially because of the way that Steve Bannon idolizes Lenin, is what they need to do is just kind of step back and wait for the system to collapse on its own, and then make policy in the ashes. He put out a statement about something to that effect of we're going to wait till Obamacare fails and then piece together a solution after. So you can take that as a model for where we're going and why it's dark and scary, because Trump is just kind of standing around waiting for the patient to die. He's withdrawn chemo, but the immune system is still there. There are several groups planning and thinking about what to do in the ashes. I consume a fair amount of white supremacist propaganda. That's part of doing research for this channel. And the one message that abides from Red Ice to Millennial Woes to Richard Spencer is we're going to rebuild the West in the ashes from capitalism. Look, since the Nixon era, the Republican Party has been exploiting white racist grievance. I have no respect for this alt-right wave of Nazis and white nationalists. But I will say that when I listen to particularly Richard Spencer speak, he talks on behalf of people who have become disillusioned. He'll mention in his talks that the Republican Party sells white nationalism to its base and then just passes, economic reforms and just liberalizes the economy. They're done with that. The dog whistle is a bullhorn. Everything's going to be spelled out now. So the problem, the problem with that is, no, it's not a problem necessarily. What's really important to take away from that is that dog whistling racism is done, and with open rhetoric, othering rhetoric, dehumanizing rhetoric about other races, you can set the stage for, as our system collapses, you can set the stage for a very dangerous fascist regime. This is why I regret the United States not having any hate speech laws, because as the kleptocrats crush the poor, crush working people, they are going to have the white nationalists in their ears telling them about a future where white people take care of each other. What Spencer is proposing is basically a socialist state where, but it's a whites-only socialism. So it's white people taking, all the fucking fascist regimes start with this shit of, oh, the capitalists betrayed you. They have these bullshit charity programs for whites only. Golden Dawn did this during a big austerity push in Greece. And obviously the German Nazis, after the Weimar collapse, framed themselves as saviors for working class whites in their country and poor, impoverished whites in their country, as a response to capitalism. We're going to take care of you. The fascist state is going to take care of you, and all you have to do is trust us as we take away your friends and neighbors of color, and your friends and neighbors who are Jewish, and your friends and neighbors who are Muslim. We're going to have a white state. A socialist ethno-state, effectively. Spencer even came out in support of universal health care, but of course, the requisite that it's for a whites-only program. So, we're in the last stage of this cancerous system, and we have to decide what's going to happen after capitalism. I was encouraged a few years ago to see young people experimenting with anarchism during Occupy Wall Street in Zuccotti Park. And to an extent that experiment was successful, it was just crushed by the finance industry backed NYPD. So that's what gives me hope, is that people will take care of each other. Now, what makes me weary is that who decides who are people?